So this is a very pertinent verse for us. Vidura is asking Maitreya, how is it that the living entity becomes illusioned? How is it that the living entity becomes affected by the material nature? Because the soul is pure originally. And it's a very good point for us because we're stuck in this material world, fending off various things, dealing with the mind, dealing with the body, dealing with so many kleshas. And how is it that we're so absorbed in all of the issues of this material world? So it's explained that Krishna Bahemukha Hoya Bhogavanchakare, that as soon as we turn our face away from Krishna, Japati Adare, we become covered by the material energy. As soon as we look away from Krishna, Bayam Dvitiya Biniveshita Syat Ishadapetasya Vipadya Smriti. As soon as we see two things, then we're in trouble. As soon as we think that there's something else other than Krishna, then immediately we're embroiled in problems. And as it says in the Bhagavatam, then Bhayam Dvitiya Biniveshita Syat. What happens to us? Then we start to be afraid. We start to fear different things. So that's the problem, that we're not seeing that Krishna is everywhere. We're not seeing that Krishna is taking care of us. And it's actually insurmountable. Daivihi Shugunamayi Mamamaya Duratyaya. It's Krishna's potency. So it's like having a fight with Krishna, like having a wrestling match with Krishna. We don't want to have Krishna in the picture. We don't want to surrender to Krishna. We don't want to see Radha Gokulananda and engage in their devotional service, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam. We don't want a bit of space. Give me my pad. Give me a little bit of enjoyment. Give me a little bit of independence. Give me a little bit of facility. But as soon as we get that, then we become fearful. What's going to happen? So many threats. Maybe we'll have to pay more tax this year. Labour government. Maybe there'll be a tax raid. Maybe there'll be a war in England. There's a war in Israel. There's a war in Ukraine. Who knows what will happen? Maybe Russia will bomb England. So many anxieties. Maybe I'll lose my job. So as soon as we have our own independent existence, Krishna Bahe Mukhoya Bhogavanchakare, as soon as we want to enjoy separately from Krishna, then immediately there's so much suffering, so much anxiety, and so much distress. But this isn't natural for the living entity. The living entity is Ananda Mayobhya Sat. The living entity is Satchit Ananda. So it has eternality and knowledge and bliss. That's what we're made of. We're made of happiness. We're made of satisfaction, made of eternality, made of knowledge. So it's a peculiar state of the living entity. As Prabhupada says in the purport, it's an awkward position of the living entity. It's not normal. It's not normal for the living entity to be unhappy, to be in anxiety, to be depressed. The example is given sometimes of, imagine that there was a lion cub, somehow or another it gets separated from its pride, the family of lions, and it gets mixed up with some other animals, could be any other animals, say it's sheep. So it gets taken off into the family of sheep and is reared with other lambs. So that lion, it's not, a human, it doesn't have a mirror, doesn't have a teacher, is raised with a family of sheep. And then it's going to act like a sheep. It's going to act like a lamb. It's going to think, when I get older, when I graduate, they're going to shear me. I'm going to produce wool. I'm going to have a wife sheep. I'm going to be a good sheep. But little does it know, that's not the nature of the lion. It's capable of so much more. The lion is the king of animals. It may be mixed up with a herd of sheep, but it's so much more powerful than that. It goes beyond those boundaries. It doesn't have to live according to those restrictions. So we are just like that. The living entity is just like that. We think, I'm this body, I'm limited by this body, I have to perform all the injunctions, all the regulations according to this body. But it's explained that if one is serving Krishna, then he's fulfilling all other rules and regulations, he's fulfilling all other injunctions. That is the ultimate duty that we need to perform. So we shouldn't think that we can be opposed by the material energy even. It's said that devotional service, Savaipam Samparo Dharmo Yato Bhaktir Hokshaje, Ahoitakiya Putuyata Yenatmashtu Prasidati. That this devotional service should be unmotivated and uninterrupted. And that also means that nothing can interrupt devotional service. If you want to serve Krishna and your consciousness is pure, Anyabilashi Dashinyam Gyana Kamadyanavritam, if you're not desiring anything else, who can stop your devotional service? Nobody can stop it. No government can stop it. No family can stop it. No institution can stop it. If you're prepared to serve Krishna, nobody can stop you. There's no material impediment. Just like St. George, we have St. George's cross, right? So St. George wasn't actually English. He was from Palestine and from a Turkish family. And he was a Christian, and the Romans wanted to throw him, because he was a hardcore Christian, he wouldn't compromise on his beliefs, so they threw him to the lions and he became a saint. But then nobody could stop him. They couldn't stop his belief. He wouldn't stop worshipping the Lord for anybody. And what's the loss? What did he lose? He changed his body. Anyway, you have to change your body. He got a better body. He surrendered his body. Just like the Kshatriyas, their nature is they're not afraid to die. They're not afraid to die on the battlefield. For them, it's not an issue. They actually want it. They're interested in it. They have a few scars from a few battles, then it's like, yeah, you're qualified. That's your adhikar. Like us having a Brahmin thread. They've got a few scars on their face. Maybe they're missing a finger or two. It's like, he's quite a warrior. So they're not afraid to die, and they're not afraid to give up this material body because they know that they're going to go somewhere better. Why be stuck here? It's like getting on the bus, right? You get on the bus, go to Watford, you get off the bus. It's not like you're never going to get off the bus. I'm not going to get off the bus. Don't push me off. What's going to happen to me if I get on the bus? Get off the bus. Get on the bus and you stay for some time, you get off the bus. What's the big issue? You have to get off the bus sometime. So, in that analogy of the lion being brought up with lambs, then the soul is far more powerful than we can realize. And it's kind of ridiculous, actually, that the soul has to be engaged in working, paying his bills, brushing his teeth, buying clothes, and all of the things that come with the material world. Especially as us grihastas, there's like unlimited things. This insurance, that insurance, something goes wrong with the car. Some unlimited things that you can deal with. When I was a Sankirtan leader in Soho Street, then there were things to deal with, management to deal with, and it could easily have been that I just spent all my time doing that. I spoke to Jaina Taipuri, who was the TP at that time, and he said at one point you just leave it and go on book distribution. He said every day, don't spend your whole day organizing things or dealing with it. He said it's unlimited, it's never going to end. At one point just go on book distribution, which is very good advice. One time I heard Pranabandhu saying in the bakery, I think I mentioned this before, he was talking to one devotee, he said, you have to be out there on the street. You have to get out there on the street. If you don't get out there on the street, preaching Krishna consciousness, obviously, then all the problems in the world will be on your shoulders. All the problems that are there will be in your mind. What about this? What about that? What's going to happen in this situation? What if I do this? Calculating. So tiring, isn't it? Calculating all the time. The demigods say that the living entities, they're continuously calculating the sense objects. How does this sense object look? Is it acceptable? Shall I accept it? Shall I reject it? Is it going to give me pleasure? How much pleasure is it going to give me? Constantly calculating, what am I going to get from this? What is the risk? It's natural that we'll do that to some degree in this material world, but it shouldn't be over the top. It shouldn't be too much. So the living entity becomes conditioned, becomes bound by these things, as Prabhupada is saying in the purport, that the Supreme Lord is never bound by the material energy. The Supreme Lord Krishna can never be affected by the material energy. And that's the difference between Krishna and the living entity. Nityo Nityanam, Chaitanas Chaitananam, that this one living entity is maintaining all the others, all the other eternals. So Krishna is never affected by that. Krishna is never bound by that. Prabhupada is saying that's the main difference between the living entity and Krishna. But it's also an interesting topic, that what is the material energy? Krishna Dhammaprabhu gave a nice Radhastami class, and he was talking about Srimati Radharani as the Ladini Shakti, Krishna's internal energy. And he was also talking about the external energy, that there's the Antaranga Shakti, Bahiranga Shakti, and Tatastha Shakti. There's Krishna's internal energy, the spiritual potency. There's the external potency, the material energy, and there's the jiva, who can be under the influence of either. But I was talking to him, and we were discussing afterwards in correspondence that what is the material energy? Because it can be either. Like, is this temple the material energy? No. Is it the spiritual energy? Yeah. But before, was it the material energy when it was a nurse's school? What does it depend upon? What does it depend on? The consciousness. So, is anything inherently material? Maybe Donald Trump is like inherently material, but I would like to think he can also be engaged in Krishna service. Actually, he also helped the devotees, right? In New York, he helped them with storing their Rath Yatra stuff, carts. So, anything can be engaged in Krishna's service. When we were distributing books in London, we would go shop to shop. And one of my favourite places to go was the Muslim areas. I don't remember what area it was, maybe Southall or some kind of Indian / Pakistani, Bangladeshi area. And my favourite was going to the Muslim butchers. So they would always give £1. A lot of the Hindus wouldn't give anything, especially on the street. They would just tell us that they know everything and they would never give a donation, right? So frustrating. But the Muslims, they would give a donation, and these Muslim butchers, they would like get some cash, and you'd always give £1, and we'd give them a small book like a Perfection of Yoga or something like that, and they'd have like blood dripping off their hand when they put that £1 in the bag. Sounds disgusting, but it was ecstasy, like seeing this person, he's like dripping with animal's blood and he's serving Krishna. So that £1, that he was getting for selling beef suddenly became spiritual, right? He's just engaged in Krishna's service. So the material energy can transform into the spiritual energy. Actually, inherently it's spiritual. Because where is Krishna? He's everywhere, right? Jagat avyakta mortina. Mayata damidam sadavam jagat avyakta mortina. Krishna is everywhere. Krishna is in everything. The super soul, Kshiradakashaya Vishnu, is within every atom. So how can you say it's material? Krishna is there. Depends on your consciousness. Like I heard the example given as well, that you see a woman walking down the street, a young lady, nicely dressed, in her 30s. So what do you see when you see that woman? Do you see somebody attractive? Do you see somebody beautiful? What if it's your mother? Then your consciousness is different, right? Then you approach it differently. Then you're going to relate differently. What if it's your daughter? So that same woman, that same person, then the consciousness is totally different according to where you're at and how you're reciprocating with it. So the material energy can be spiritual. Can the spiritual energy be material? Not really, but it's our consciousness. We mistake it. Like the example is given, we mistake a rope to be a snake and you're afraid. Misusing something, misappropriating something. So we misunderstand it, but actually it's all Krishna's potency, and meant to be engaged in his service. So the living entity is this superior energy, this para prakriti, this para shakti, and actually he can't be influenced by the material energy if he doesn't want to be. So my spiritual master gave the example in Hungary once. Do you know Chitta Hariprabhu? You know, little Chitta Hariprabhu used to be a big manager in Hungary, but he's very small and very frail and got glasses, extremely intelligent, very artistic, but he's very small physically, smaller than everybody here, I think, in the class. And there's another devotee, Lakshman. You know Lakshman? He's very big, very strong, and he's like, he does massage, very, very strong. My spiritual master was saying, how can Lakshman Prabhu be defeated by Chitta Hari Prabhu in wrestling? How can it happen? How is it possible? And he said, the only way is if he lets him win. The only way is if he surrenders. And he says, okay, you know, you can pin me to the floor, I'll accept defeat. So the living entity, us, we are beyond material energy. We are beyond the scope of the material energy. Krishna says, Bhumirapo nalovayu kammano buddharevacha ahankaramiti me bina prakriti ashtada. So these different elements of the material world, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego, he classifies them as the material energy, or his separated energies. Earth, water, fire, air, ether. And then he says, aparayamitastvanyam prakritim vidime param jiva bhuta mahabaho yaidam daryate jagat. But there's another energy, another potency that's beyond this, that's superior. Para prakriti. It's beyond the scope of the material energy. It's conscious. We're conscious. You know, you have a fight with a table. You're going to win, you know, it can't fight back. Not much that it can do. You can definitely outmaneuver it, you know. It can definitely move faster than a table. It's not conscious, it's not going to do anything. So the living entity, although our bodies are made of the same matter, because the soul is within, because the soul is conscious, because it's a spark of Krishna's superior potency, then we can manipulate and we can do so many things. So it's only when we surrender to the material energy, it's only when we agree, we sign the deal, okay, you can affect me. Janma mrityu jara vyadi. Fine. I'll accept birth. I'll accept death. I'll accept old age. I'll accept disease. It's a deal that we sign with the devil, or with Maya Devi, with illusion. Okay, Krishna. So you take Krishna, you just move over there a little bit. As soon as, you know, you move Krishna out of the picture a little bit, to that degree, then you accept the bondage of the material energy. It's explained that when we took birth first in the material world, then who did we take birth as? Lord Brahma. Quite a position, create the whole universe. Pretty impressive, you know, pretty impressive lifespan. 4.32 billion years, one day, 311 trillion years, one lifetime, right? I think. Yeah, you get some respect, you get some kudos, even, you know, bigger than being the temple president or, you know, mayor of Watford, the creator of the universe. Because we turned away from Krishna a little bit, and then we carry on. How do we carry on from that point? How do we actually think that? I guess we're doing it now. We still think there's some hope, something we can get, some juice. Punas punacharita charananam. We can chew the material energy. We're going to get something. There's going to be something there. My spiritual master was saying that in the Vedic culture, chewing the chewed may refer to sugarcane, but in what they used to do, I mean, I never did this exactly, but when they were at school, they would have chewing gum, and then when they had the chewing gum, they'd stick it under the desk, and then when they'd come back the next day, they'd take it out and continue chewing it. Did anybody do that? You can admit it, it's okay, I won't. I can't imagine taking it off the desk and continuing to chew it, but maybe, yeah. People have done that. So chewing the chewed, we have this faith, we have this conviction, yeah, there's something out there, something, you know, if I get some money, if I get this job, if I get that partner, if I wear these clothes, It's an amazing thing. To say it sounds so ridiculous here, but we're totally embroiled in these things all the time. So the living entity agrees to be bound by the material energy, but actually it's unnecessary. We don't have anything to do with this material energy. Can this material energy even give us anything? Does it give anything to the soul? No. It just covers the soul. It's just a burden. Yeah, we can be engaged in Krishna's service now in the human form of life, but the soul can be engaged in Krishna's service anyway. And this is all very nicely explained in Srimad Bhagavatam, in the first canto. In fact, in this class we could just read those 4 verses and it would cover everything that needs to be said about it. I'll just mention them briefly. So it's the first canto when Srila Vyasadeva is going to speak the Bhagavatam. He's met Narada Muni, and Narada Muni has said, what's all of this nonsense, all the Vedas? Vyasadev's compiled the Vedas, he's compiled Mahabharata, he's compiled Bhagavad Gita, and he's not happy, he's not satisfied, doesn't feel good. Narada Muni says, what's all of this? You haven't even glorified Krishna, you've just confused people. Why don't you glorify Krishna, write something about Krishna? So Vyasadeva sits down in meditation. Bhakti yogena manasi samyak pranihiti male apashat purusham purnam maya chaham yeah? I got it right here in front of me so I can cheat. Mayam chatad apashrayam. So Vyasadeva, he sits down in japa period and he's not falling asleep. He's not thinking of the opposite sex. He's not thinking of what he watched on TV the day before. He's not thinking of what he's going to do today. Vyasadeva sits down and he meditates on Krishna and he sees Krishna. Narada Muni says to Vyasadeva, he says, you're qualified. Your heart is pure. You have the adhikar. You sit down and meditate on Krishna. So before writing Srimad Bhagavatam, Vyasadeva sits down, he meditates on Krishna. He needs to get that potency from Krishna. Before Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati began preaching, then he sat down and chanted japa for, I think it was around 10 years. Was it 10 years or so? He chanted 1 billion names. So he was chanting 192 rounds every day. 300,000 names, just like Haridas Thakur for 10 years. So devotees are humble. Devotees understand that if I'm going to do something, then I need Krishna's blessings, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's blessings, the blessings of the devotees. How can I do anything by myself? Krishna asked Arjuna to counteract the Brahmastra. Arjuna circumambulated Krishna 3 times before he did it. So Vyasadeva meditates on Krishna, and because he's pure, then he saw Krishna. But he didn't just see Krishna. What else did he see? Maya. He saw Maya standing behind Krishna. The Maya wouldn't stand next to Krishna like Radharani does. She would stand behind Krishna because she's Krishna's illusory potency. So Krishna was there with his illusory potency. Next verse. Yaya samohito jiva atmanam trigunatmikam paropi manutena tam tatkritam cha vipadyate. That it's due to this external energy that the living entity, although he's transcendental to the 3 modes of material nature, he thinks of himself as a material product. So it's interesting, this Sankhya, isn't it? You take all the different elements and you put it together and then you see, how did we get to where we are right now? So the Jiva's here, Krishna's here, Maya Devi is here. When the Jiva comes in contact with Maya, then he thinks himself a material product. He thinks, I was born in Barking. I was born in this family. I was born in the Smye family. I'm talking about myself now. I mean, he was always also born in Barking, but I was as well. I was born here. I'm my Smye family. My family are from Suffolk. They were farmers, or my dad was a teacher, and I went to this school, and now I'm this age, and I support this football team, and I'm going to retire here, and this is my family, and we live in this house. We categorize ourselves according to different material circumstances. And even a simple person can understand this. I saw one, but they were interviewing some people the other day who were walking through India, Jai, Shishirada Gokula Nanaki Jai. And they said to this guy, pretty much a hippie guy, "Where are you from?" And he says, "I'm from the same place as you, brother." He said, "Hey, where are you from?" He says, "I'm from everywhere." He says, I'm drinking the water here, I'm breathing the air, I spent time in this country, I spent time in this country. He didn't want to say, "I'm from this country." What does that mean? It means you're a material product. And what is a country anyway? Boundaries are changing, food is changing, culture is changing, languages are changing. How can you even categorize the soul according to a material thing? It doesn't make any sense. So when we come in contact with that material energy, then we think ourselves a material product. That's the material energy that we misidentify. We misconstrue it, we misunderstand it. We think of ourselves as a material product, and thus you undergo the reactions of material miseries. Then you're accepting it. Okay, like a phone contract. Okay, I want that phone. Sign on the dotted line. Okay, I'm going to pay this much every month. Now I accept it. It's a deal. Okay, I think I'm this material body, being influenced by Maya. So I accept the different miseries that go along with that. That's the bad news. The good news is, Anato pasamam sakshad bhakti yoga madhokshaje lokasya janato vidvams chakre satvata samhitam. That the material miseries of the living entity are superfluous to us. They don't touch us, actually. They're illusory. They don't actually have any connection with the soul. All of the problems that we think we have, we don't actually have any problems. Bhoktaram yagyatapasam sarvalok maheshwaram suhridam savabhutanam gyatva mam shantam vichati. Krishna is the enjoyer of everything. Krishna is the proprietor of everything. And Krishna is our best friend. So what is there to worry about? If you live or you die, Krishna has his plans. We can become so absorbed in my plans, my calculations. Is it going to work? What's the contingency plan? How will I adjust it in this circumstance? Krishna has his plan. So what is there to worry about? So the material miseries of the living entity, which are superfluous to him, can be directly mitigated by the linking process of devotional service. But the mass of people do not know this, and therefore the learned Vyasadeva compiled this Vedic literature, which is in relation to the supreme truth. So the material miseries of the living entity can be directly mitigated by the linking process of devotional service. Why is that? Why would you say, how does it help? Say I'm worried about my mortgage. What's that got to do with chanting Hare Krishna? Why does it help? Any suggestions? We know we're not the doer. Still, interest rates may go up. Whoever the doer is. I might get kicked out of my house, get repossessed. I don't feel any better. Any other suggestions? Yes, Rui? Don't get a mortgage in the first place?
Well, Srila Prabhupada comments in the 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita that a devotee, whether he's living under a tree or in a palace, he sees as Krishna's mercy. Right?
Yeah. So then you're seeing Krishna as the controller.
Yeah.
Any other suggestions? Yes, Prabhu? Nice to see you, by the way. Haven't seen you for a long time. Hare Krishna.
No, just understand that way that, no, I don't need it. Hare Krishna. I have so many questions, but I'm not going to do it now.
No questions right now. Why is it that...
So many questions, but not doing now. But the question you asked me,
Yeah.
I feel that way, that I had a business and blah, blah, blah. Then I sold my business. To pay my mortgage, I have to go job sector, whatever. So they told me, I said, please give me some job. I want to go because I'm work for it. So they said, okay. Can you do carer job? I said, yes, I can do carer job. But I don't know what is carer job.
But why is it that serving Krishna helps you with material problems? Can you just answer that in a sutra?
You're absolutely right. So when I went and I noticed, I don't know how the people live this country themselves.
Okay.
So shocked.
Thank you, but we can get into the story of it later.
Only one thing is, whatever money in your pocket, you cannot buy blessings.
Yeah, thank you. Anybody else? Any other quick suggestions? You can tell me the story later, Prabhu. Anybody else? Yes, Mataji, last one.
It strengthens your faith in Krishna so that you know that he'll always provide no matter what the external circumstance.
Yeah, that's true. We understand that Krishna is in control. And also we are waking up. We're waking up. I was listening to an interesting lecture by Bhakti Vikash Maharaj the other day, and he was talking about the origin of the jiva, the fall of the jiva, or the so-called fall of the jiva. Good topic. Let's open it up right now. But he was saying that some conclusions are that the soul was with Krishna originally, and that we become covered by the material energy. So we're absorbed in our daily lives. We're absorbed in the dream of what we're doing now. But actually we're with Krishna. We're with Krishna. We're just absorbed in the play of the material world at the moment. So we haven't left him. We haven't fallen. The soul doesn't fall from the spiritual world because we're still there with him, but we're just absorbed in this dream. So it helps when we serve Krishna, even though it may not have a direct correlation to individual problems that we're facing in the material world, because you wake up. Like you could say someone's having a dream, like what was I dreaming last night, the night before? I was a pujari in Hungary for 6 years, and I would always dream that I was like late for the offering. You had the same thing? I was always dream I'm late for the offering, I'm cooking and there's not enough boga, or the person to offer the boga hasn't come. So I was dreaming something like that the other night. I think I was in Soho Street on the altar, and then I was late with the offering or the cooking. So when you wake up, then it's not that problem becomes resolved, right? Okay, somebody came and helped me and I cooked on time and it was offered. It's a dream. Who cares? It's a dream. It doesn't have any reality. So when you serve Krishna, then you realize, actually, what am I worried about? I'm Krishna's servant. Krishna has his plan. Krishna's in control. So we're waking up from a dream. But it's obviously not so easy. It's not like, I was thinking about it before class, that it's definitely a fact that we're in a dream and we're waking up. Or it's like you go into a room, you're absorbed in, you're in the room in darkness, falling over, bumping into things, trying to make sense of it, and somebody comes in with light, then you feel relieved, you can see, you can act properly. Krishna Soya Samahoya Maya Andakar. Krishna consciousness is like light, and Maya is like darkness. But for us, it's like such a slowed down thing, it's not like the sun coming up and then you can see everything. Like it takes maybe an hour. Or you wake up from sleeping, it's instantaneous, right? You wake up pretty much. I mean, maybe there was some circumstance where you're gradually waking up from a dream and you're gradually realizing that it's not reality. But for us, it's like slowed down, it's like slow motion waking up. So we're totally absorbed in the material energy, totally suffering, totally unhappy. Then we come to Krishna consciousness and it's like, oh, I feel better, I'm chanting Hare Krishna, I'm with devotees, I feel better. But you're still not awake. You're just starting to wake up and you're feeling less anxiety because you're not so absorbed in the dream, in the nightmare anymore. But it's a very gradual, very slow process. And Maitreya says this to Vidura after a few verses. He says, but that misconception of self-identity can be diminished gradually by the mercy of the personality of Godhead, through the process of devotional service to the Lord in the mode of detachment. So, to see how deep it is, to see how deep that illusion is. And I think we can also experience that, especially grihastas, like you come, when you're living in the temple, it's like, one devotee said that to me when I was brahmachari in Soho Street. I was preaching, and there was some girls who came and I was preaching to them, and he said, don't think you're such a great preacher. He didn't exactly say it like that. He said, understand that it's not you, it's where you are, it's the place that you're living in. It empowers you. You're in that energy. Just like the living entity is so tiny, it just rides on whatever energy surrounds it. If it's, London energy, it's that. If it's Bhaktivedanta energy, it's that. If it's Harinam energy, it's that. If it's in Vrindavan or New Vrajadam, then you'll become absorbed in that. You take on the qualities of that. So he was saying to me, don't think, that you are some big preacher. You're getting the mercy of living in the temple and preaching. So, and if we're not, if you're working, you've got a job, you have to be there 9 to 8 hours a day, or whatever it may be, you become influenced by that, you become affected by that. So it's a very gradual process. It takes time, but that's what it is. The sun is slowly coming up. Sun is slowly coming up on the lives of devotees. That we're gradually waking up from this dream. Half the time we still think we're in the dream. Half the time then we're understanding that what the reality is, that Radha Gokulananda are here. Jiva Srupohoy Krishna Anityada Seikaleshwara Krishna Arasabhabritya, that I'm their servant and I'm meant to serve them. But for us it's a very gradual process. So hope is there. It's said just in that last verse, and then I'll finish in the Bhagavatam in the first canto, that Yasyam Vaishruyamanayam Krishne Paramapurushe Bhaktir Udpadyate Punksa Shoka Moha Bhayapaha. So that simply by giving oral reception to this Vedic literature, to the Srimad Bhagavatam, the feeling for loving devotional service to Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, sprouts up at once to extinguish the fire of lamentation, illusion and fearfulness. So it's not by paying off your mortgage you get freed from lamentation, illusion and fearfulness, because there is no material solution. Right? Hiranyakashipu, Ravana, they want to become immortal. Little do they know they are already immortal. We're all immortal. It's something that people have been looking for through history for thousands of years, right? The elixir of immortality. Can they find it? The Holy Grail. You're already immortal. You're already a lion in the company of lambs in this material world. You're not this material body. You're something way beyond that. You're actually an associate of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A friend, a servant of Krishna in the spiritual world. So the process is simple. It says here just this one thing. Just by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, then that feeling for loving devotional service to Krishna sprouts up to extinguish the fire of lamentation, illusion and fearfulness. But obviously we have to do all of this. We have to cleanse ourselves. We have to spend time and energy and discipline in hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, in immersing ourselves in the process. And then if we do that, then that process is potent enough to help us wake up fully and understand what our actual situation is. Okay, thank you for your attention. Does anybody have any comments or questions or corrections? So I should have asked the blessings of my seniors here before I spoke, my senior godbrothers and other seniors. Yes, Mataji? If you just want to speak in the mic so the viewers online can participate also.
So I just got a question. Do you know why we went to sleep in the first place? Like why we're in this dream in the materialistic world?
Yeah, it's explained because we didn't want to serve Krishna. We didn't want to be Krishna's servants, his humble servants, but we wanted to be our own little enjoyers. Take Krishna's position or take Radharani's position in the female body to enjoy separately. So we want to give it a go. Give it a go in the material world. Krishna looks like he's having a good time, dancing with his girlfriends, having fun, doing what he wants. Maybe I could do the same thing, maybe I could dance around with some girlfriends or some boys, and Balaram's drinking his Varuni, maybe I could get my own Varuni, fermented Varuni, made from hops, or whatever it may be. So yeah, as soon as you reject Krishna, then we begin to dream, because we're rejecting the reality. Viteratam yat pratiyeta na pratiyeta chatmani tad vidyadat manomayam yat tabaso yata tamaha. Krishna says to Brahma, whatever appears to be of any value, if it's not in relationship to me, no, it is my illusory potency, that reflection which appears to be in darkness. So if we don't see the connection with Krishna, then it's an illusion, it's a dream. But that's why, because we're rejecting Krishna. Krishna bahimukho hoya bhogavanchikade. So the solution is we connect everything to Krishna, whatever it may be, our money, our energy, anything that we have, and then that becomes reality and not an illusion.
Thank you.
Is that okay? Anybody else? Yes, Govinda Prabhu.
Thank you for your interesting class. Just an announcement. We've got bhajans at 9 o'clock in the temple room.
Great.
So
is that not on Mondays anymore then?
Not everyone can come on a Monday, so it's kind of, we're up in the air at the moment.
Okay.
We might settle on a regular Wednesday, we're not sure yet.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Okay, if there's no other comments or questions, we'll finish there. Oh, Prabhuji, yeah? You don't have a question. Anybody else doesn't have a question? Yeah, please don't ask your question. Go ahead.
Is there consciousness in dead matter? Because you refer to the table as no consciousness there. I believe I heard you say that.
Yeah, I know. Krishna is within every atom. He's conscious. But as far as my understanding goes, then, I've heard, but I've never heard the details of it, that everything is conscious, which is quite a statement. But I would say, maybe others would say, it's not directly conscious, because it's not acting, it's not reacting, it's not doing anything. Yeah, Krishna is within every atom. There may be like a presiding deity or something like that, like we have presiding deity of trees, this thing comes from wood, or, there's Bhumi, the earth, there's Vayu with the wind, but that doesn't mean the wind is conscious in the fact that it's, it's just energy, like it's working. We have Krishna who's conscious in the origin of everything, and we have his energy. Like you have your energy. So you are the origin of your money, but your money is not acting unless you send it somewhere, unless you spend it, or unless you earn it. So no, I would say that they're not conscious in a general sense on that platform anyway. Right? Is it conscious? Is it moving? Is it communicating? Is it growing? Is it decaying? Is it creating offspring? No, it's not. It's not conscious. It's just sitting there.
It is understood that they're just stacks of atoms compressed, and then you have a physical manifestation. So it's all atoms. The wood. So it's an interesting. If Krishna is everywhere and he's in the atoms as well, then that was the basis of my question. Yeah,
Krishna is there. Ultimately, everything is Krishna. Krishna's energy. That we see this lectern here, but is it a lectern? Bhagavatam says it's a world of names, right? We call things, but in 100 years, it can be firewood tomorrow. So what is the reality of it? Or you can chop it and make a little table out of it. Then it's not a lectern, it's a table. So ultimately, everything is Krishna, Krishna's energy. Atoms are there in so many forms, and Krishna is within every atom, and every universe is within Krishna. Yes, Govinda, you wanted to say something about that?
But also, for me it's not clear reading Prabhupada's books if it's a case that there are jivas in some atoms, but I'm not sure if it's in every atom. Prabhupada does talk about the jiva being inside the atom. But anyway, it's interesting now, you look at modern day philosophers, when they study science, especially quantum mechanics, one of the conclusions some of them have, is that the most logical answer is panpsychism, which means everything is conscious. It resolves a lot of contradictions in the body of knowledge based on modern science. So panpsychism is there, it's a philosophy that everything is conscious. It's just a matter of degrees. And what exactly is our position? I really don't know, because I remember having a discussion with someone and I was thinking, based on certain Prabhupada quotes, I was thinking, actually, panpsychism fits in with us. And he was disagreeing with me. No, there's different categories of energy. There's achit and chit, and material energy is unconscious, and so I never really resolved it myself.
But then where is it based on? Based on what? We need quotes on it. You can't just say everything's conscious. You need Prabhupada saying that everything's conscious. And what are the symptoms of it? How is it showing that it's conscious?
I think that term that you use, symptoms, that's the important aspect of determining if something is Chaitana or Achetana. Symptoms, so within the realm of Krishna consciousness or general knowledge, everything is known by its symptoms. So if it doesn't have a symptoms of living force occupying that particular object, then we can't say that it's conscious. Because conscious in the end of the day means soul, means jiva, nothing else. But on the higher spectrum, everything emanates from Krishna as his energy.
Yeah, there can be different dimensions to it. Adigurupuri, you wanted to say something? No? I mean, you can say this, like, this wood came from a conscious living entity originally, right? It was created from there. The different levels of consciousness, it manifested from a conscious living entity. But now it's not conscious except for the Krishna being in the atoms anyway. And there may be very many different levels to it. It's an interesting topic to discuss. Okay, we'll finish there. Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
His Grace Taruna Krishna Prabhu ki